good evening and welcome to this month's edition of The Edge. My name is Trevor Lewington. I'm your host as always. On the third Thursday of the month, we're talking to community and business leaders here in Southern Alberta. Those folks are sharing their insights and hopefully helping you build your business, build your life, and perhaps even building a little bit of community. We don't care how you got here, but whether it's Roku TV, whether it's Fire TV, whether it's directly from the website or YouTube, we're just really glad you could be with us here this evening. So this month's edition of The Edge, I'm joined by Eyren Uggenti. He's the Chief Operating Officer for Advancerite Technologies. Welcome, Eyren.
Hey, thanks, Trevor. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, I feel like I sort of roped you into this, so I appreciate you making some time out of your very busy schedule to hang out in the studio and answer some questions for me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Always a good time to speak with you and talk business and what's going on in the network here in southwestern Alberta.
Awesome. Now, we'll get to all of the fun quantum computing news and stories and fun things that you're working on that still blows my brain. But finding good talent in a mid-sized market like Lethbridge is sometimes challenging. So I'm a little bit curious if you could talk about how you landed here in Lethbridge and then perhaps more importantly, why you've decided to stay.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's a great point of starting for today's interview. So I think, I've now been in Lethbridge since about 2019. So 6 years. And it definitely, to speak to some of that staying power, I got here, never really turned back. I feel like it's, the community's embraced me wholeheartedly. There's been a lot of really interesting opportunities and projects to work on. So I was kind of reflecting on, what does it actually mean to me as, becoming a member of the community and not necessarily being from here originally.
Right.
And so, I think some of the things that I notice would be like the quality of people here, quality of the opportunities as well. Those were some of the things that attracted me. I met my wife, who actually was born and raised here. I traversed the Rockies to make my move over this way and spent about a year actually to figure it out. Wanted to make sure that I had a really good opportunity to step into coming into the community. And I was able to find, lots of great community, lots of really interesting activities going on in the city. And, now that we're, kind of just out and about a lot more and our kids are growing up and stuff, it's, we're taking advantage of it, which is really nice too. So even just seeing the sites or heading out to, a function on the weekends or stuff like that, right. It's really given a lot back, right? Like I didn't know exactly what it would be like moving to Lethbridge from the Vancouver area. I'm actually from Hamilton, Ontario originally. And so, just a little bit more sizable cities in that sense. And, I think even just seeing the growth that's happened here in Lethbridge since I got here, really amazing. I think it was 85,000 people when I got here, and what's it at now?
Like 112 and growing all the time,
right?
Yeah.
So it's been really nice to be just welcomed in such a way.
Okay. Now, I mean, weather in the lower mainland is a little better than Lethbridge sometimes, but I got to think Lethbridge weather is still better than Hamilton any day of the week. But, that feels like a pretty significant cultural shift. I think about you're big into music and the art scene, but you've been able to find a lot of those same elements here in Lethbridge?
Yeah, definitely. So, I myself, I do a lot of different music. I have some published works, things like that as well. And I like to run concerts. That's, running events was one of my first great passions coming out of my degree programs and being a student leader back when I was at Lingara College in Vancouver. And so, they just, kind of getting into these different networks and seeing the talent and the different kind of types of people and activities going on. It's been nice because I'm a pretty social guy and being able to kind of find some of those things that I was actually just not worried that I was going to miss, but like I just wasn't sure.
Maybe you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Like you just kind of show up and then over the past few years, like, we've been running lots of great cultural events. There's been a lot of different educational things that I get involved with around technology, innovation. So it keeps me busy. Like I mentioned, there's been really no chance to look back because it's just been so embracing and just, full of fun and opportunity.
Well, it's funny you should say Langara College because it occurred to me as you were talking that Dr. Paula Burns was the president and CEO of Lethbridge College at the time and went to Langara from here, and you came from Langara here. So it's almost like there was It's funny, small world, right? The parallels, there's still those connections. Just interesting to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I even met a Lethbridgian a couple of weeks ago. I was in Vancouver for a conference, and yeah, was a U of L grad, and it was so nice because we were able to talk about Lethbridge.
Cool.
And it was just really nice, unexpected, meets with people who know about what's great about this city.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we'll get to in a second. We'll get to sort of your pathway as a serial entrepreneur. This guy's doing a lot of different things simultaneously. We'll come back to that. But you've spent a good chunk of your early career coaching and guiding entrepreneurs, both in BC and then when you came to Alberta. Can you talk a little bit about your experience as kind of a coach and sort of business mentor to people?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So, really, I think it probably started in those college days. I was just looking at how to get the most out of that educational opportunity, and I decided to become a bit more of a student leader. And I was a mature student at the time. I decided to go back to school after the Vancouver Olympics and kind of working in the security industry for a number of years.
Okay.
And I wanted to become more of an account manager, wanted to get more business toolkit built and things like that. So I took a marketing degree program, spent about 5 years kind of getting the most out of that. And and it wasn't just, it was more because I was so involved, right? So there were some semesters where, I was running the business association, I was running the social club, and I was, working on campus and different things like that.
Truly getting the most out of that experience.
As much as I could. Yeah, I thought it was my window to kind of experience that, and had never really gone away for school stayed on dorm or anything like that. So that was a really nice kind of flourishing moment, I would say. And then my co-op was actually with a small business resource center for all of the province of British Columbia. Okay. So when I started working with them, I actually got to run an awards and recognition platform. So I kind of inherited that back in its like 8th year, and then I actually worked on it till the 14th anniversary year.
Wow.
And yeah, eventually became full-time, did a lot of the flagship events, a lot of the kind of relationship management with key sponsors and things like that. And so that built up my frame of reference for what was going on in entrepreneurial sense across a province as a kind of a landscape. And when I saw what the needs were, and I started to understand what businesses were lacking, what they were looking for, seeing how just that little bit of extra standard of care, even just from my event management element, was so appreciated by them.
Right, sort of holding people hand to hand through each step rather than here's some resources, go.
Exactly. That high touch, approach, right? Yeah, exactly. And so that for me was the start of that kind of real applicable element of some of the skills I had built in my programs.
Okay.
And when I recognized that, then I started to get into more coaching and mentoring, and a lot of people wanted to learn more marketing skills and things like that. So that was for me one of my fortes, design work, things like that too. So then when I moved to Lethbridge, I got, a great opportunity to break into the innovation space and some of the network that was already formed in Alberta. It was maturing at the time. And so, that gave me another learning curve. It gave me the opportunity to look at, what are the types of resources that Alberta companies are looking for? What do we need in the Southwest? What kinds of challenges are they facing, and how does my skill set help to augment, and what can I do to be that information source? And that's kind of what I was doing all the way along. So it was a very natural fit.
Nice to get paid for it to do it anyway.
Yeah, right? And that's exactly. And I was learning throughout all those interactions too, because you're getting conversations with people, and you start to pick up even more of that. I guess you would call it like maybe just that high fidelity kind of information touchback, right? So you're really getting to the root of some of like what's driving the economy and what is lacking as well, like we said, right? So, and for entrepreneurs, I mean, they're trying to do so much, generally speaking, and there's going to be subject matter areas that they need to seek a little bit more guidance or have a quality business conversation around.
Yeah, I can be a great widget maker, but I don't necessarily understand the best ways to market it or even how to manage my books once I've sold it, right? Like there's going to be elements of managing my business I'm going to need help with.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, those would be I think some of the, and plus it's rewarding, right? Like all the way along I'm giving back, and there's reciprocal kind of things that come about in that way. So like my additional learning and growth, right? So I think that is really nice from that standpoint. And that's why I've stuck with it.
So fast forward to today, you're now the Chief Operating Officer or COO of Advancerite Technologies. And I feel like some of your past entrepreneurial coaching and guidance has culminated in this new opportunity. So can you talk a little bit about what Advancerite is and what Advancerite does?
Yeah, absolutely. So Advancerite Technologies, we're really focused on three pillars. So we have of course, the education and emerging tech education library that we have available for learners. This is both for individuals and for businesses.
Oh, okay.
So it's quite accessible. We have a wide range of topics, and it's generally a little bit more on that cutting edge tech focus. So there's some introductory stuff, but then also a lot more complex and deep kind of technological elements to it. So that element is what kind of drives the baseline of how we're helping to stimulate that learning and expand toolkits across the globe. It's actually meant to be a global technology concierge. So,
Okay.
we started here in Canada, but we're already actually showing up in markets in the Middle East and in Europe and things like that too. And our plan is to go even further than that. And we also focus on acceleration. So there's the acceleration through business challenges, through building up new technology as well. And it's not always easy to find the right fit or the right types of resources. A lot of trial and error when you get into that. So we try to help cut away some of that. I guess you would call it like just uncertainty, right?
So I can bring my startup tech company to you, and you'll help push me through, accelerate me in a way through learning and provide me with tools and resources. That's sort of the gist?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And so like even cutting down on development time and cycles like that, where to find resources in a quick and effective manner, and then actually put it into use. And we try and challenge our cohort participants to really take those steps while they're in that experience. But then we also don't lose sight of them either. Like, it's quite an open door. There's a lot of opportunity to be in touch with our team. Okay. And ask those kind of questions coming out of an experience like that. So yeah, we've got a variety of accelerator programs that we run, ranging from beginner level to executive strategy, and then we also have specialized, more I would say like focused cohorts. So we also offer a biotech AI accelerator, an autonomous AI accelerator, and a quantum computing accelerator.
Okay, so very niche, targeted subject matter areas. I think I understood what you just said.
Yeah. So exactly, like start, maybe someone who's just kind of getting a feel for it. They might go into the beginner level, try and get some tips and tricks on how to evolve and push through those challenges. And then for someone who might have like a computer science degree or who might already be very proficient in AI and technology, they're going to be maybe in more of the advanced level, or maybe jump right into something like the quantum computing accelerator.
Right. And obviously it sounds like there's streams for it. Like, obviously, if I'm in biotech, I'm perhaps less interested in general AI, but if there's a biotech specific stream, I can get very targeted support that way.
Yeah, certainly. And we do have some clients that we already serve in the life sciences space as well. So
very cool.
Few peripheral services. So we actually also do recruitment for advanced technology projects. It's going to be generally a little bit more of those large scale projects and high complexity that we kind of do that recruitment and matchmaking, even help vetting candidates to join teams or take away some of that training burden.
Okay.
So that people can adopt new team members and integrate a lot more quickly. And we also offer a few different services, so some grants and shred and things like that we help our clients with.
Very cool. Now, you just had a cohort for one of your programs called Tech Skiller.
Yes.
Right? Can you talk a little bit about, like, just as an example for the audience, what Tech Skiller is, and perhaps talk about that cohort and maybe what you saw as some of the outcomes? Because when we say there's these programs or these accelerators, like, what exactly did your participants get out of it? I'm just curious what you saw, maybe from when they enter to when they exit. What kind of growth do you typically see through some of those programs?
Yeah, so our Tech Skiller brand is our accelerator channel. So basically, all of our accelerators are Tech Skiller, and the premise there is, you're going to get anywhere from a 6 to 8 week experience, and we're going to really we do quite a unique kind of inbound process with each team member or individual. So they're going to tell us a lot more about those challenges we're analyzing, on their way in, and trying to understand each business who's going to be participating, or each person and what their learning goals are. And then this way we actually highly tailor the content. So, we have some baseline content that we'll utilize, but we're really taking into consideration, like, what are the outcomes that they're seeking,
Who's actually in the room,
who's in the room, how do we kind of get them into play and adapt to, what it is they're trying to get out of the other end of the program. And what's really nice about it is we can help augment, we can help them kind of look and navigate through tools that they might be a little bit apprehensive or unsure about.
Okay.
And, with the beginner level tech skiller, a lot of what we saw was people going through their development cycles in a much quicker fashion. So, like, even one of the testimonials we got, someone mentioned, they thought this was going to take them 4 or 5 months to get through this kind of build sprint. And we ended up, assisting them. They got through it in 6 weeks.
Which, again, if I'm a small business owner, time is money. I really don't have 4 months to spend with you. Like, how quickly can you get me through this process, right?
Yeah, that's right. And sometimes it's just a matter of being able to access some of that expertise, right? It's not always commonplace, or you might not you might find barriers out there in the market where it takes a few weeks to get someone in touch, and then
right.
By then you're like, well, maybe you're missing a window of opportunity or something. So we try to speed that up, but also really take a good standard of care for the clients who are participating. And then, trying to get them to a proof of concept. So that's kind of the goal ultimately with the beginner level tech skiller is, can we conceive what they're trying to do and then help them prove that that's actually going to be what works for their needs.
Okay, interesting. So this sounds like a fascinating concept, and obviously there's a need as a country, and arguably the rest of the globe that you serve. We're trying to move technology companies. We're trying to advance things quickly. But where did Advancerite come from? Like, how did this idea come to be a company, and your partner Mohammed, or like, where did this come from?
Yeah, so it actually stemmed from just some of the past conversations. So my business partner, Dr. Mohammed Khan, he and I met here in Lethbridge area. And so he was running a business at the time out of the Tech Connect facility, so the
Right.
kind of incubator there in the north side of the city. And I was working out of that building at the time, running educational programs. And we connected on a lot of things. I actually was a presenter for some of our different programs that I was responsible for.
Right.
And we really got to know each other and kind of understand, through discussions, how can we enhance this experience? How can we figure out a way to really channel the focus of, what are those things that people are after? What are they looking for? And how can we be catalysts for that? So it was really that passion about educating, about, removing some of the hardship around, getting people into functioning roles where they're able to wield those toolkits with confidence, but also where there's some kind of padding and landing space where if they don't know something, they still have somewhere to talk about it and kind of work through it.
And a safe space to be comfortable asking questions and not feel foolish. And I imagine, right?
Exactly right.
Okay.
So, he's an educator and an academic, through his career, and then moved into entrepreneurship about a decade ago. And I myself, I'm more of a marketing people person and, program manager. So we actually complement each other very well in that regard as well. So, he's definitely got more of the technical ilk, I think, in general, but I'm right there, and my skill set is just a little different. It's more digital media based and marketing focused.
But a good match, right? Those two things blended together sounds like a very comprehensive package.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the more time I spend, working alongside him and kind of putting these packages and these offerings together, my technical kind of knowledge base has grown insurmountably over the last couple of years.
No, that's great. And, selfishly, I'm excited to hear that Tech Connect, which is a purpose-built technology incubator here in the city, actually did what it's supposed to, and that is create an opportunity for those collisions to happen and put two very independent people on a different path together to create something more, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, and it actually came together a few years after. So like he and I both had kind of moved into some additional like other work, and we're no longer kind of working out of that space. And we stayed in touch. Like, it was such a great relationship, and we've just been building on that as business partners.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So that's Advancerite, and you've also got this thing called Stack. Yes. So how does Stack fit into the mix?
Yeah, so Stack is a high performance computing business. Okay. So what Stack is focused on is we recognized throughout these discussions, and was formed by Mohammed. He invited me to work with him on that company, so I'm highly integrated in Stack as well. And what we do through Stack is we focus on that lag that happens between academic research and scientific complexities, and how sometimes it might take years or decades for a proof of concept or a prototype or something to be introduced to the market. And we really want to speed that up. So that's been a really, big focus. How do we leverage classical computing, optimization, AI, and automation, and bring them together in such a way that, we can work with clients and researchers and institutions, large companies as well, and figure out, how do we bring something that might have otherwise taken 2 or 3 years to bring together. And sometimes, even large conglomerates, they struggle, and sometimes it'll never hit the shelf, right? Or it'll never actually commercialize. And so the premise of Stack is to really leverage all those expertise and technical elements to do this in such a way where, we're not building a solution seeking which problem it's going to fit. We're actually identifying what is the problem and then building the solutions accordingly, and helping, people to understand how then they can, account for that and test it and staff it and manage it so that it actually becomes something that is useful and value creating.
Because there's a massive gap in innovation, right? To your point, you've got just some amazing world-class innovation and research that happens just even in Lethbridge. We look at Lethbridge as the example, both of our post-secondary institutions, enormous amounts of great research and products that could be commercialized that sometimes languish in a lab somewhere. And then at the same time, you've got industry trying to solve problems that's not always connected to this amazing expertise that exists literally across the river from them.
That's right. Yeah. And being that bridge is, Stack is, partnering with large kind of proficient organizations. We've been on the quantum tour. Mohammed's been kind of going around all across kind of Europe and through the US and Canada upcoming. And, just connecting those dots. And, with his experience in academia, he understands some of what's going on behind those research doors, and, how sometimes, things do get left to maybe sit on the shelf, or it just doesn't come together in a way that it can actually break through that. And so we want to be a catalyst for that on one side of things, but then also on the industry side, there's urgent problems that need attended to now. And we want to figure out, with organizations, how can we help to create new revenue streams? So it's not just about like looking at things and fixing one problem. It's how do we fix a problem while also introducing new ways of doing business and new ways of creating value.
Okay. Now, you did mention the quantum tour. I think it was Qubits in Arizona that you were just at. And then Dr. Mohammed's been, was it the UAE before that? So, obviously there's lots of these global events that happen, and sometimes entrepreneurs have to struggle between conferences and trade shows, and are they worth it? But what's the benefit, I guess, for you guys when you look at these massive global events? Like, is it exposure? Is it networking? Like, what's the motivation to go to some of these things?
Yeah, so I think the big motivation is, it's a convergence space for technical and advanced experts a lot of the time, especially when you get into some of that deeper tech or subject matter. And then also from that consumer perspective too, we want to know and be a part of those conversations of, how is the technology moving forward, and how are we, in our operation kind of staying abreast of that, but then also making and forging new connections so that we're not just kind of a one note provider or company, right? Like, we are dabbling in some very interesting and emergent territory, and there's a lot of different forums for this kind of work, but typically a lot of them might steer towards one or the other things, right? So you might get a symposium that's highly academic.
Right.
And, we might go to something like that, but we're definitely more interested in those commercial opportunities because the value's here now. Quantum's available today. We can do optimization work and help leverage AI into an operation and affect the bottom line pretty quickly. So there's those kind of elements to it, and showing up in some of these rooms like a Qubits conference. So we actually have a partnership through Stack with D-Wave, and we're representing in the Middle East and kind of being a conduit in the Middle East for more quantum adoption. And so we actually got invited to run an event out of Dubai, and we had Qubits UAE back in September 2024. So I was here in Lethbridge, just in my home office, presenting to a room of folks in the Emirates, and talking about the quantum accelerator and some of these new plans. And they actually did a formal signing of that agreement, which was really cool. And then I got an invitation to be in Phoenix and Scottsdale area, actually in Arizona, a couple of weeks ago. And so we were at the Qubits 25 conference. Okay. And Dr. Khan, he actually had some amazing sessions. So, this is where not only research is being demonstrated and some of the new kind of use cases are being presented to a room of not just experts, but aspiring technologists and things like that too. And so it was just really great to see. We actually had one of the only consumer-facing demos. So what it is, it's a full-fledged product that we worked with a Canadian SME on. It was funded by Digital Supercluster, actually. Okay. And so in conjunction with that, he was actually able to show path planning optimized for thousands of fields at one time. So like this technology, it's being used by customers in Australia. It's being used by customers here in Canada. And it's just really exciting because when you look at all these amazing theoretical evolutions that are happening, and then you see a demo like what he put on and just exposing,
like you could literally put your boots on. Let's go show you in the field how this works.
Yeah,
it's real.
Yeah, like path planning for hundreds of fields in like 50 seconds.
Wow.
And then like being able to and it's a non-obvious solution, right? So you're seeing in real time that an autonomous machine can actually route through a field in a more optimal way than, let's say, someone might think otherwise.
Right.
And we were able to do that at scale with this product that is actually a product of a Canadian SME, and we just were part of working on it and inspiring kind of that to come to market, which was cool.
And again, I think it's such a great example of how you can be a tech entrepreneur enjoying the quality of life available in Lethbridge, Alberta, presenting to a conference in the UAE and doing global partnerships around the world. And you don't actually have to get on an airplane unless you want to.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's pretty amazing to me.
Yeah, it was really exciting. I don't get to travel a ton for the work that I do. It's been, very virtual in nature over the past few years, and I get out here in the city and the community a bit. But I think it was just really great to connect with people I would have otherwise maybe not been meeting, and the reception that we got there as well was really great. A lot of high energy stuff. What a fabulous conference the Qubits 25 was. And then actually Mohammed was at Google Cloud Next in Vegas just last week. And prior to that, he went to Fira World, and also that's a big farming conference in France. And then also was at the Leap in Saudi.
So you guys are putting on some serious miles, or at least he is.
Yes. And I'm, kind of just there, not only cheering on, but also like, ensuring that we're converting and we're discussing and we're looking at, how
it's all the post-conference follow-up and
exactly. Yeah. And so, yeah, it was wonderful. Like, I think Arizona was also just great. Got a bit of time to just check it out. I'd never been. It'd been about 8 years since I was in the US. So
nice.
Yeah, it was cool.
Okay. So I want to shift gears a little bit, and you've had a great entrepreneurial journey. You've also coached and mentored entrepreneurs in the past, but I'm sure there are a number of tech entrepreneurs out there watching tonight once they saw you coming up on the queue. So what advice for those tech entrepreneurs maybe starting out, or they're trying to understand the ecosystem and what resources are available to them? Like, what advice would you give to tech entrepreneurs that are sort of just starting out their journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think one thing would be connect early. There are plenty of conversations to be had. And if you are a new and aspiring entrepreneur and maybe don't have a more mature network yet, things like that, there's always accessible starting points, especially, down here in southwestern Alberta. Lots of welcoming kind of spaces and proponents who are encouraging this type of support.
Right.
And the resources, there's a lot of depth to the resource that's available. So, one thing that I would also encourage is just be open and ready for that constant learning curve. If you've never run or managed a business before, there's going to be a number of elements that you're going to want to pay attention to, so that it's not just a great idea or a great product that you're developing, but a great business as well. And those are all actually three different things, right? So you've got to be able to recognize when maybe you don't know what's best, and that's hard for some people, especially like a type A personality, or someone who's like a big wants to just drive forward and get things done.
Yeah, like I know everything. I don't need any help.
Right. And honestly, I think when you see people start to clue into it's okay to have that little bit of vulnerability, so that it can bring that learning about.
Okay.
I think that's really interesting, because there have been so many opportunities where, I've even in the last couple of years where I'm like, oh yeah, I know this, and I know how to do that. Right. And then I'm in rooms now with the new talent, people who are, coming out of their programs or doing some kind of breaking ground things in technology. And like, there's just so much to digest. So I think overall, what you want to do is just stay open to those opportunities, connect with people and have quality conversations, and just be prepared for the realities of maybe like getting to a point where you can commercialize something and run a business. There's stages to it. Then after you've done that, maybe it's now you got to look at being an employer, which is a whole other echelon of
paperwork and rules and stuff.
Exactly. Like, things to really come to task with, right? Because if you're going to be that person, that figurehead of an organization, or even kind of work with someone and maybe partner on that, where a few people are working towards a common goal, it's playing to those strengths, supporting one another, looking at how you can access and kind of get creative with how you're breaking out into the economy and into the world, and just seeking out those opportunities. It's no two businesses are alike. And that's one thing that, I've even seen it. I've helped lots of businesses in similar kind of verticals, and they're all doing different things.
Yeah, there's no one solution, one recipe. You can't read one book and just apply it universally, right? You have to really adapt and customize.
Yeah, and invest in yourself, right? Like, don't be. I find that happens a fair bit too, where entrepreneurs are, maybe a bit risk averse. I'm a pretty risk averse guy, and that's started to shed now.
Okay.
Because I'm realizing like I had the skill set and the confidence all along. It was just, I thought that there was only one way to do things, or it was just kind of how I was primed.
Okay.
And now that I'm realizing, like, if I unlock that in myself, I can actually have more impact and unlock that for my community too. That has been a big driver for me.
Okay, very cool. Yeah. Now, as you look back on your own career, your own journey, your own path, is there something that you would have done differently with the benefit of hindsight, or maybe perhaps a key learning along the way that was sort of that pivotal aha moment that really set your path?
Yeah. I think it was that, my area of focus and kind of education was marketing and business management.
Okay.
And so as I got into more program and project management, I started to realize that I had a bit of an edge around just knowing how to approach those situations and kind of work through complex problems, but in a transparent and encouraging way, like in a, bringing some of that energy to the problem. And, okay. And then I think, for me, that was a differentiator. I wanted to, I don't want to leave just like a dust trail behind me. I want to make sure that, it's like with a national park, right? Like you're going in and you're not going to just leave your garbage there, right? You're going to actually make sure that it's better than when you left, than when you entered, right? So that's kind of the mantra I've been using. Okay. I want to inspire people. I want to make sure that they're able to see these unique things. And I think, as a community, the more we see entrepreneurship and innovation out front, the more that the community starts to clue in and see that, Lethbridge is a vibrant place with tons of opportunity, and there's, no reason that our youth couldn't even take a cue from that. And for me, like, I want to be a role model. I want to be someone who people look up to. So I think for me, that was a bit of the aha, like, okay, I've got the toolkit, I've got the pizzazz, or, I can do this, right? And it was just then investing in that and furthering my ability to wield it in a way that, still imbued value into other areas of my life, right? Like, so I think it's really great to see, like, I'm new here, right? 6 years.
Right.
And I feel like I've already been able to help people with their life's work and their, ability to strive for what they want to do as well. And it's fed into what I've been doing, which has always been what I wanted to do as well. Very cool. It was very symbiotic in that sense.
Okay. So as you look back, is there a particular project that you're maybe most proud of? Is there something that you're like, that was me and that was awesome?
Yeah, I think there's a few for sure. Maybe the two kind of really notable ones would be when I was running the business association, actually, as a student. I remember sitting around the table with, like, our executive and just kind of looking at what was happening, and I was like, I think we need to run some sort of an engaging event. So we conceived what was called the C3 conference.
Okay.
And it was, a 2-day thing. It was like on a weekend, and we ended up bringing in like 6 speakers from the community, people that a lot of our students had never interacted with. And it was just about kind of raising the bar for our group and looking at, ways to get them feeling involved and give ownership and kind of distribute that and take part in something that was going to be special.
Right.
And actually it went off pretty much without a hitch. It was actually really quite enjoyable. I always look back at that one as it was kind of my first conference event. And it was, I think, we had a futurist speaking. We had that's really cool. Like 10 years ago.
Right.
So, they were like, self-driving cars weren't a thing. He was talking about them. And then I was just in one the other day, right? Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then the other big one is just, I'm really proud of those Small Business BC Awards. I know, organizationally they're not active anymore, but, that program arced for, probably about 18 years. I think they ran it, because they ran it maybe even to the 20th year. So, just building it, like when I got involved, we were at like 200 attendees and maybe like 6 categories of awards. And by the time I kind of handed it over and departed for Lethbridge, we were at like 700 attendees at the convention center with, multiple new awards categories.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And just impact all the way across, the board. So those would be kind of the projects that I really feel like are a bit of a feather in the cap. And it's still relevant to what I'm trying to do in the community that I've built here.
Okay, that's cool. Now this show's called The Edge, so I'm always curious, what gives you your inspiration? What gives you your edge? Like, and I think about I'm guessing 18 hours a day grind that you do for all of your businesses, but you also have a young family, you're building a life with your wife. Like, how do you stay so energy focused, so positive? Like, what gives you your edge? What gives you your power?
Yeah, a lot of the time it's just like a great music playlist. That's
tunes. Gotta have the
tunes for sure. I probably work anywhere about 90 to 100 hours a week at this point. I've got staff now. My wife's involved in our businesses. Okay. So we fully integrated at this point. But there is still balance, which is kind of a really interesting piece. Like, I have the ability to still sit down and have a family meal on a weekday. And, there's pockets of time where the house is quiet and I can do focused work. And it's, my sleep schedule isn't your typical 9 to 5, but, we take care of everything on the home front. And then I'm still able to put a ton of effort into these things we're building and also the communities we're serving. So I find that the edge there is, just, having every so often just a down day is nice. I had some business meetings in Banff the other day. I said to my wife, I was like, let's just take the kids and, I'll do the meeting. And then the next day can be our day. Right. And we can just have a day. And, doing that through the week is nice. It's a nice kind of, thing that maybe I wasn't able to do in the past that I'm now, able to do. But then, you come back and there's still a million things to work through. So I think the other thing is just getting, consistent kind of exercise and looking at, what am I doing to fill the cup, right? And make sure that I'm staying in tune with those things, because I don't want to experience burnout. It's happened, years back. And right. Even, I found school and exam schedules to be quite hard back then. And with the businesses, I'm so passionate about it that it just flows. It just flows. And, I don't mind taking those calls and making appointments after hours because my kids are still small. They're in bed at 8:30. I got time. I got lots to do.
And it's enjoyable. This isn't work. This is my passion. I'm doing right. Good things.
Yeah. Yeah. We're building unique things. And I'm going to be stronger for it, by just learning and pushing that envelope a little bit. So, obviously within the realm of health and wellness, you got to check in. We don't want people, to fall over due to stress and things right. Like this. Right. But, for myself, yeah, like I'm used to pushing the bar. This kind of comes with how I aspire to be in the world. Where that bar sits is always an interesting question. I've been trying to calibrate that a little more.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think overall, it's been a real treat to see that I can create and add so much value. And, sure, it's like working 3 jobs and then you add parenting on top of it. But I like it. And yeah, some people aren't maybe interested in that, but for me, it's a labor of love. I love it.
No, I thank you for sharing that because I think it's important that entrepreneurs, sometimes can get stressed out and they get hung up on the workload. But again, if it's something you're passionate about, and there are ways to structure your life that it actually works and it flows and it makes sense.
Yeah. Sometimes I need to get in the salt water or get out to, the coast or down to Waterton or something. Right. But then I feel recharged and it's time to, see what's next.
Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of, that's a great segue. What is next for Stack and Advancerite? So where do those two entities go from here?
Yeah. So with Stack, we're actually developing a lot of really strong kind of products right now. So we are focused on agentic products. So we're building what they're called queues.
Okay.
And so what they're meant to do is be available to our clients, and they can kind of learn more about automation and try them out and see how that's going to help, the baseline of their business operations, kind of take some of the capabilities and just rise them up and even have that assistive element so that, you might have a smaller organization with like 4 or 5 employees and they might not have tons of resources to turn to. So they can actually utilize products like our queues to get some dialogue flowing.
Like a test model that they can play with. And
yeah. So they're agentic AI operators and highly autonomous. So what they can do is actually, relay information and work within the scope of the business and, just help augment. And then we also have a supercomputing product that we built called Super. And so with that product, it's all about taking natural language and helping to derive pathways for complex problems so that we can get to solutions and understanding how to package and deploy those solutions more readily. So imagine, a business executive who maybe doesn't have optimization expertise, but they know that in their operation, they could, make some really amazing advancements if they were able to better optimize some of the work that's going on.
Product flow or change the design or whatever.
You got it. So like supply chain, life sciences, okay. Construction, different types of scheduled work, routing, a lot of like transportation type problems, right? And what we are able to do through this is you can enter natural language, and it actually helps you figure out, okay, what element needs to be done on classical computing, and what's going to be utilized from CPUs and GPUs. And then it also looks at quantum optimization through annealers and also gate-based. So then you're looking at more of QPUs and what can be done kind of through that emergent space with quantum technology as well. So it's not that any one is going to be the go-to. It's this should be solved with this set of compute. This should be solved with this set, and
let's pull in the right tool.
It gives you that planning and comprehension around like what you're trying to solve for, and it enables you to break down those problems and then repackage it, and then you're able to speak about it in business terms as well, which is really fantastic. But then you can also deploy it to the right compute platforms and through the cloud and things like that.
Because I think about my days when we're going back at least a decade and a half now. In the transportation sector, we would model all of the routes for that day. And, there's 40 to 50 trucks on the road all across Western Canada. It would take hours for that solution set to grind through. Yeah. It would churn out a response, and then you'd be like, oh, we got to adjust this. And then you've got to rerun 2 hours worth of calculations to get another simulation. This is happening almost instantaneously in multiple combinations and variables, right? Like it's a much faster, more comprehensive approach.
Yeah, and then with our product, once you have the modeling, you're able to then add in different variables and inputs and run it even more quickly to further kind of simulate what is going to be optimal. So it's really interesting, highly technical stuff, and we're working on it with some of our partners as well. And there's definitely, some cloud infrastructure and different things that help to power it, right?
Right.
But it's that AI kind of autonomous ability to work through these and give those inputs, and then we really want to get it to a point where people are able to trial different problem sets on it, and they're going to be able to get to those simulations and those conclusions more efficiently, which is amazing.
Okay, very cool. Now, as if that wasn't enough, you're also planning the second iteration of the High Level Innovation Conference here in town. That's May 2nd and 3rd, I think.
Yeah, coming up pretty quick.
Yeah, so it's coming up quick. So talk to us a little bit about what is the High Level Innovation Conference, and why should people be attending that coming up here soon?
Yeah, so the High Level Innovation Conference. So that event was born out of a realization I had a couple of years ago. I was just looking around and kind of trying to understand, where's our flagship innovation event here in the Southwest region. And, there was definitely a few events that had happened over the years and some events with innovation focus, but I was looking at it from that accessibility lens. I had heard through my work in the regional innovation networks how, sometimes for our rural, specifically our rural communities, it's quite an opportunity cost, and it can be, sometimes, proponents or business owners, sole proprietors, or even, corporate owners, they might have never been to a conference before, or they might look at something in a main city center and go, well, do I really, what am I going to get out of this? Or do I really want to take 2-3 days away from the business, away from my family,
pay for hotels,
all these costs potentially? Yeah. When you get to the end of that, it's a bit of a hard decision to make. It can be a critical decision to make. And when I evaluated that a little more closely, I was like, well, we have a lot of innovation going on down here. What's preventing us from doing something at a large scope and scale? But how do we make it so that people feel comfortable and able to try it out, right? So the big thing that we looked at was making sure that the price point was really attractive. We actually committed in the last year, it was our first year last year, and then it took us about a year to think about it and build it out. We ran it last year, and we're back here for its second year in a couple of weeks. And 18 and under youth are free. That's something
very accessible.
Yeah, and that's something I don't think I'll be wavering on. We have a 5 to 10 year plan for this event iteration, and then $20 day passes and $30 multi-day passes. Now, Yeah. And so when I put that out there, I mean, if I make that statement and then I tell you that there's 40 speaking sessions, 65 speakers and panelists, 70 exhibitors, a gaming tournament.
I'm getting an awful lot for my $20.
Like,
yeah,
it's kind of a hard to pass up value proposition, and that's how I wanted it to be. I want to build community, and that's the way we do it. And with the support of our wonderful sponsors and other organizations that have taken an interest, we're able to do this. It's not really about it's obviously got to be profitable enough that we can run it each year, and that we have a little bit of, ability to account for things like, venue changes or cost increases or things like that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like, it's really about inspiring more innovation in this community and putting a showcase around everyone who's working hard and putting efforts forward to build their businesses, build their technologies, and actually have a great forum to showcase that. Right. So, we're super excited about it. Topics ranging from sales and PR, transportation, all the way to artificial intelligence, quantum computing, esports and gaming. There's something for everyone. And I know that's a bit of a faux pas in marketing. Like, marketing specialists are like, don't do that. But in reality, like, how else do we bring out a family? Maybe a business owner has kids and it's a Saturday and they really want to attend, but they're like, well, my kids can't go, so I can't go.
Right.
Not here, right? We're there. There's, some little giveaways and lots of cool stuff to engage the youth and just get them thinking. My kids attended last year and they were playing with the Southland Trailers robot.
Okay.
And that was really cool.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, wow, like this is, so maybe we're onto something here, right? Like when are the younger generation running into this? It might not be until their later years of high school or their first years of university or college, right? So I wanted to rev that up a bit, but then also make it inviting enough that, people would come out and just feel okay coming in for a few sessions. Maybe they have to go run an errand, they come back for the later one. Like, that's okay too.
Yeah, pick the topics that make sense.
Absolutely. It's like choose your own adventure, and it's a very welcoming environment. We're actually partnered with the Taco Fest and Geek Fest too.
Oh, okay, so that's happening.
So adding community into the mix there. Yeah, Geek Fest has over 24 pop culture booths and cool artisans, and then Taco Fest is happening on Saturday, and so you can get a what we call the Innovation and Taste Pass. And there's an exclusive shirt.
You had me at food.
Yeah, with an 8-bit taco design on it. Really cool stuff going on. And definitely hit up Patricio for some of the Latin flair that day as well. So we'll be having lunch and dinner at Taco Fest on Saturday.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I applaud you, because I think about so I have two 8-year-old granddaughters who are always teaching me things about my iPhone and technology. So if I'm going to an innovation conference, I should be taking them because they're going to help translate it for me anyway.
Yeah.
That's sort of how I view it.
Yeah. We need to break down, barriers, increase exposure, and just embrace people to learn more about this, because it's going to impact our economy, our businesses in positive ways, right? We do a lot of high performance computing, like I mentioned. We're into, making also with Advancerite high performance individuals. And, and that's just becoming that. And it doesn't discriminate. Like, no matter where you're at, you might even have maybe a disability or something like that. That's okay. Like, AI is still a tool that you can be using. Right. So it's non-discriminate. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So High Level Innovation Conference and Taco Fest, very important to note that, and Geek Fest, May 2nd and 3rd.
Yes.
And it's at the Agri-Food Hub and Trade Center.
It is, yes.
Okay, and they can go to a High Level Innovation Conference website, presumably, to get tickets?
Yeah, highlevelinnovation.com is the website. And then, 18 and under are free, like I mentioned. So grab those multi-day passes, and we'll see you there in a couple of weeks.
Okay, that's very exciting. So, we've talked about a lot. It's Advancerite, some very cool things happening there. Stack, High Level Innovation Conference. It's been amazing to me that an hour has literally flown by. We've literally got just a couple of minutes left. But is there any final messages, any final thoughts you wanted to leave with that audience as we sign off here?
Yeah, I think, maybe just one thing that we didn't maybe get to talk about too much, but maybe I think it relates to some of the work you do as well, Trevor, like around workforce development and things like that. So I was able to bring a few organizations together recently, and we managed to get a federal supercluster grant. There's going to be more about that in May. So we're actually going to be demoing the new AI tool for workforce development. It's called Aikido. And that's going to be available there on May 3rd. We're going to showcase what it does and why it's super helpful and relevant for
another reason to come to the conference.
Closing the tech gap. You got it. And, we keep hearing that there's not enough tech talent and we need to continue to upskill the workforce. And this is going to be one of those catalyzing opportunities for that. So, that piece, I'm really dedicated to workforce development. Like I love educating. We like to, again, bring people up alongside us. That's kind of how we work as organizations, both at Advancerite and Stack. Stack's a lot more industry and MNC kind of size, and Advancerite's a lot more of the kind of individual learning and businesses and helping to enhance and advance emerging tech training and recruitment potentials as well. So we're really hoping to see a great effect. It's going to be another wonderful success story for Lethbridge, I hope, and a product that has been born out of the innovation and technology focus that has been leading in this region. So that would be kind of just the one other thing I was just really excited about. And then for final comments, I think, I just want to commend both you and Jess as well for, creating such a cool forum to have these discussions. I haven't done a long format interview. I don't know, ever potentially.
Because it's usually a world of sound bites and TikTok videos, right?
Yeah, at this day and age, right? And so just having the chance and being invited to be here tonight, I just really appreciated that. And yeah, we're excited to be a part of this flourishing place that we call home,
Well, awesome. Always inspiring to talk to you, Eyren. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everything you are doing to build community, and best of luck as you build your businesses.
Thanks so much, Trevor.
So that's this month's episode. Join us again next month. We'll be talking to another awesome human being, building community, building their business, and building life here in Southern Alberta. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great evening.